Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of AMC, ticker symbol AMC. And so they are hosting a stockholders meeting in about 12 minutes. Sorry, I started this a little bit late. And so I will be connecting to that so we can listen in and watch the chart, see how it responds, if it does respond. But looking pretty good, being above $5 a share currently, being up over 6% on the day, as we can see here. So, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And, also, I guess, since they're, like companion stocks, I should look over at what GameStop is doing, currently up over 8% right now, up over $2 per share on the day, pulling back a little bit, having hit a high of nearly $31 a share, currently trading around at $29. And so I'm just going to get this set up and we can watch the chart here. This is on the minute time scale, and we can see what happens with the chart. And so I'll just get that set up. The link should be all ready to go, and I should be connected to it. So well, just give me a second and I will get it all set up. Let's see. All right, 1 second. Just got to enter in my info so I can join the call, or the meeting, I should say. And I apologize if there's some kind of annoying noise in the background. A neighbor is cutting the grass and they need to have some work done on their mower. Kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Oh. Sorry. I'm just going to mute the computer so you guys can't hear what's coming out of the mic. It is just, background music. And I will also get the Chrome window set up so you guys can see that we are, tuned into the call. So I just got to adjust this frame. So just give me a second and I'll do that. Let's see. It's been a couple weeks since I did an earnings call, so I've just got to set this up. Hey, what's up? I see that about 5 people are joining. I am just getting the call set up. You can see it's just a little bit black right here, and that is part of the meeting website. And so I will just adjust that so it says AMC above me, and then we can take it from there. So let's see. I just gotta adjust this a little bit. There, the A from the AMC is coming over. Let's see. I started this stream a few minutes late. I had to head out to Walmart to grab some popcorn, and I went out and took the motorcycle, and so had some fun with that. So it was a nice little evening or afternoon ride. And okay, 1 second. That's almost right. But I'm just gonna take this. And and you guys can see the chart behind me still above $5 a share. So I'm feeling really good about AMC, GameStop the next few weeks. So I feel like it's all good. Let's see. Okay. I think that might be okay. And then I can just shrink that a little bit. Man. Almost. Yep, so that's the call that we're going to be listening to. It's right behind me, connected. Hey, what's up, Eagle? BTBT, the next Wall Street bets play. So that's what Martin's saying in the live chat. I'll probably go over that. I feel like probably on Friday's Ticker Request Live. This one's just going to focus on AMC, and then I'm doing the ChargePoint earnings call right after it. Are you going to be putting the meeting on stream so we can watch with you? Yes, most definitely. I believe it's just going to be audio, and so we can listen to it and watch the chart as that goes on. And I am going to actually connect myself to the headphone. Yeah, connect myself to their audio. It's probably just music playing right now. I don't want to get a copyright strike. Once the music stops in about 7 minutes, the meeting should be starting. And so we can listen to it together. And I'll mute myself so we're just listening to that. And then I see Matamacho. You think it's going to keep pushing up? I mean, to be honest, I'm not really sure that it'll have much response to the call. But I think that really like over the next few weeks, I just think that there's a lot of downward pressure on these stocks, but there's a lot more upward pressure. And so I feel like they're just going to be popping. Just like they did a few weeks ago when GameStop closed above, I think it was 1647 on May 3rd. That, in my view, triggered a gamma squeeze. And other stocks that are also heavily shorted, like GameStop, are shorted in a similar manner, popped as well. So, I think that what's going on with the gamma squeeze options calls, I think that we're going to see a lot of violent moves to the upside in the coming weeks. So whether it happens today, whether it happens this week around Friday options expiring, I don't really know, but I feel like by the 21st, if we haven't seen violent moves to the upside on all of these stocks, I feel like we will the weeks after. As, because like Roaring Kitty, for example, has, is it 120,000 call options? And then that translates to, multiply each one of those by 100 shares. And so I think that there's just going to be a lot of upward pressure with all of these stocks. And could it drop before? Yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm just going to look over at the chart. I'm going to switch over to the daily time frame real quick. We got about 4 minutes before it starts. I mean, I feel like it could still drop down to this downward purple trend line. And so if it does, I think that would be a good dip buying opportunity. But if it doesn't, if it holds where it's at, 786 is at like 441, that might be the bottom. 441 might be, the best entry in the weeks coming ahead. And so for me, it's like, I don't have like the hugest of positions. My largest one is definitely an AMC, but I am trying to get as much as I can leading up to basically the end of June. And Eagle's asking if NEO earnings is after hours tomorrow. It's pre-market tomorrow. And I will post a link to that this evening for the stream. And before the market closes today, I might buy like a call that expires the end of this week that's out of the money just to see, it costs like $8 and maybe I could turn that into 16 or something, or, something like that, just to have some fun. And so you have an order, is that right? I'm just going to type up. There's this heart emoji that gets in the way. I have a put right now for 450. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's with these stocks right now. Any expectation of it going down, I think is pretty risky. But yeah, I mean, 450 though. I mean, 450 is not much lower than current price, and I still think it could be in this, higher lows that we're seeing going up higher. So yeah. And it should be just about a few minutes before it starts. Still just hear, I think it's like some trumpet in my ear from their webcast hosting, whatever it's called. And I can actually show you what their page looks like. I did put a link to their investor relations presentations tab. And so this is what I'm listening to right now. There's just a little bit of music, and this website I got to from the presentations tab of their news and events tab from their investor relations page. So if you guys ever want to listen to these yourself, or I think it's more fun to do this when we see the chart. I think the music's still going, okay, and yeah, to kind of just partake as a community. And so I'm just gonna, yeah, so we're all set up there, and I might actually just adjust this a little bit so it's a little closer to centered. Let's see, I can do better. Yeah, so hopefully that looks okay. I think I've maybe, yeah, let's see. There we go. I think that looks good. AMC Theaters. And so Marky Mark is saying that he has AMC calls expiring January 17th of 2025 with a $27 strike. Yeah, I wonder, I have no idea what the price of AMC could be around then. I feel like it'll definitely be going above 27 before then. I don't know how well it'll hold. Hey, and Madamacho, thank you for saying that. Yeah, just trying to have fun for myself, being more involved in the markets, getting better at charting, and making it more accessible to others as well. I think that's, a real thing that the market's missing is just earnings calls. It's like, how do you find out how to listen to them? How do you find time and all of that? And so this makes it more accessible, I think. Hitting 27 by next year, you think that is going to happen? Yeah, I think that, like I've said in videos, I think that AMC will hit, what makes sense on the chart here, I'm looking at the daily time frame. I'd probably want to adjust the time scale or the y-axis, but going up to here to fill this gap is around 44, at the low, but really that close was 46, 41. I could see price getting up there. I don't know how long it'll hold up there. I think we're going to do, what we've done before, squeeze up, pull back, make higher lows, and repeat. And so, yeah, I think that by the end of June, AMC could be trading with the floor around 8, no problem. Let's see. I think June will be a crazy month. I agree. We'll see 27 before January, which I'll be exiting those calls. Yeah, I think that's like one of the things that, because I had seen on Twitter that there was somebody, I'm actually going to refresh the AMC page just to make sure that it's still going. Okay, yeah, it's just music. But that somebody was buying GameStop in the money calls with a strike of 20, and it was just like getting really heavy there. And then that got me thinking, like, maybe I should look into getting more in the money calls, shorter dated, and at prices I'd be happy to exercise them at. And, ooh, crap. My little AMC thing got screwed up. I'll have to adjust it when the call starts. And whenever I type up, it's just because there's this heart emoji that blocks some of the text that you guys write. That's great. I know I will see what I'm going to do now. Got to think a little. Yeah, I think it's good to always have a plan and always adjust the plan. Whether that's if you're entering a position, always think about exit or how long you want to hold it for. Whatever. Just I think it's always good to have a plan. Yeah, and Marky Mark, yeah, I definitely see a gap around, let's see, around 20 right here. And so, yeah, I think that, this one we squeezed up to this previous pivot high. I think the next time we go up, we could be maybe bumping our heads at 20, but maybe we bump our heads at 44 and pull back to 20. I don't know. These things always surprise me. And Sam, I will probably cover BTBT on a stream I do on Friday for like Ticker Request Live. This one's just going to focus on AMC, and then after I'm doing ChargePoint. Or maybe I'll do a video on it tomorrow. I'm not really sure. And so it seems like they're about a few minutes late. And it does say that the call should be happening. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, it should be starting any minute now. Yeah, it's supposed to begin at 2 Eastern, which is now. So just going to keep refreshing this page. And I can actually, well, since you guys, sorry, I've got my screen on different things. I'm going to switch this over to the minute time frame. Still above 5 though, so I think looking good. You know, I think this low right here, what was that value? Low of 498, like $5. I think that's going to be a pretty important level. And yeah, and that does look like it's pretty important level here. Volume point of control. I think the call's starting, so
great. Good afternoon, everybody. Will the meeting please come to order? I am Adam Aaron, a director, the president, CEO, and chairman of the board of AMC Entertainment Holdings. Welcome to our 2024 annual meeting of stockholders. An agenda outlining the order of business has been made available. The matters on which the stockholders will be voting today are 2. 1, consider a certificate amendment to declassify the board of directors. 2, elect directors. 3, consider a certificate amendment to eliminate the prohibition against stockholder action by written consent. 4, consider a certificate amendment to remove the limitation on stockholders' ability to call special meetings. 5, consider a certificate amendment to expand the exculpation provision to limit the liability of certain officers. 6, to ratify the appointment of the company's independent public accounting firm. 7, to approve on an advisory basis or to disapprove on an advisory basis the compensation of the company's named executive officers as disclosed in the proxy statement. 8, to approve the 2024 Equity Incentive Plan. And finally, 9, if necessary, to adjourn the meeting to permit further solicitation of proxies. I'd like to begin the meeting by introducing our current board of directors, all of whom are joining me for this meeting remotely today via telephone and Zoom. They are Dee Clark, Sonia Jane, Hawk Koch, Bill Lader, Gary Locke, Kathy Paulus, Terry Putnam, Tony Sach, and Adam Sussman. Kevin Connor, the Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary of the company, will serve as Secretary of today's meeting. He has delivered to me an affidavit of Computershare, the notice agent for the annual meeting, which states that on April 24, 2024, a notice of the meeting was mailed to all stockholders of record as of the close of business on April 11, 2024, which was the record date for this meeting. Mr. Connor will now discuss the procedures for transacting business at this meeting. Kevin?
Good afternoon, everyone. The meeting will take place as described in the agenda. We have a quorum of stockholders present in person and via proxy to conduct business. When an item of business on the agenda is before the meeting for consideration, questions and comments should be limited to that item. If you wish to make a statement about any resolution pending on the floor, please raise your hand and be recognized. Once you are recognized, please approach the microphone, state your name, whether you are a stockholder or a proxy holder. If you are a proxy holder, please state the name of the stockholder that gave you the proxy. Please keep your statements brief and limited to the specific item up for discussion. We may have to interrupt any statement that continues for an unreasonable amount of time. Speakers will be limited to an absolute maximum of 2 minutes. You may not record the proceedings today, and phones or other recording devices are not permitted in the meeting room. Anyone disrupting the orderly conduct of the business or acting in a threatening manner toward AMC employees or fellow stockholders will be asked to leave the premises and, if necessary, escorted out by security personnel. If you have not already submitted your votes and would like to vote during the meeting, you may do so on the ballot provided to you at check-in. Ballots will be collected at the conclusion of the business items on the agenda. Any ballot not received when called for will not be counted. We will announce the preliminary results at the conclusion of the meeting. Final results will be published in an 8-K filing with the SEC.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
The Board of Directors has appointed Eddie Gladbach and Kelly Schemenauer as inspectors of election for the meeting. They have signed an oath to act as inspectors of election faithfully and which will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. The directors of the company the inspectors have the registered stockholder list of the company as of the record date for determining stockholders eligible to vote at this meeting if they have not already done so by proxy heretofore. Kevin has advised that a quorum of the meeting is present, so I hereby declare the meeting duly and lawfully convened. I am aware that there is considerable interest in knowing how many shares there are and how many shares have voted at the meeting. The number of shares outstanding of the company as of the record date, which is April 11 of 2024, was exactly 276,388,250 total outstanding shares. Of those, approximately 138.5 million shares have voted in the meeting. That is a little more than 50% of the total outstanding shares as of the record date. However, that number of 138.5 million voted shares includes what are so-called brokerage firm discretionary votes, which are allowed on certain matters, like the ratification of the company's auditors, but are not allowed to vote on other matters. For non-routine items, only the individual shareholders who own shares, excluding those so-called brokerage firm discretionary votes, can vote. On that score, only 18.5% of AMC shares were voted at this meeting. I would remind all of our shareholders, many of whom are listening to this webcast, that voting at annual meetings of stockholders is a precious right and an important opportunity for you. In future meetings of the shareholders, I would encourage far more than 18.5% of our shareholders to actually cast their votes and let their voices be heard and counted. Now let's move to the items of business, which are the motions and proposals that were voted upon by the shareholders heretofore via proxy and will be voted at this meeting if anyone is voting in person. The first item of business is an amendment of the company's certificate of incorporation to declassify the board of directors, which shortens the term of all existing board members whose terms extends beyond a year, changes the duration of a director's term from 3 years to 1 year, and allows for and enables all shareholders to vote on all directors annually. This amendment, under Delaware law, requires that it be approved by 50.1% of our total outstanding shares. As I just said before, when you exclude the so-called brokerage firm discretionary votes, only 18.5% of our shareholders have voted so far. Unless more than 32% of our shares are voted in person at this meeting today, it is mathematically impossible to get an affirmative vote of more than 50% of the shares when only 18.5% of the shares are actually voting. Therefore, for this motion and for other motions like it that require a 50% majority of the total outstanding shares, I'm going to ask that all of these motions be moved and seconded consecutively, and then we will move to discussion and voting. Is there a motion on this proposal, number one, to change the declassification of the board?
Alice Rogers, a stockholder. I move that proposal 1 be approved to amend the company's certificate of incorporation as set forth in the proxy statement.
Thank you, Alice. Is there a second?
Cynthia Pierce, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Cynthia. Let's move to the second proposal. As I said, we'll do discussion and voting of them en masse. The next item of business is the election of directors. However, before proceeding, we will need to determine the outcome of the vote on proposal 1. Because if the board is not declassified, then not all of these directors will actually stand for election at this meeting.
Actually, Adam, let's skip proposal 2 for now because we haven't voted on proposal 1 yet. Let's do 1, 3. Let's do 1, 3, 4, and 5 together. Then we'll come back to 2.
Thank you, Eddie, acting as inspector of the election as you are. So let's move to proposal 3, the stockholder written consent, which again requires 50.1% or more than 50.0% of the total outstanding shares to be approved. This is a motion to eliminate the prohibition against stockholders acting by written consent. Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
Chris Cox, a stockholder. I move that proposal 3 be approved to amend the company's certificate of incorporation as set forth in the proxy statement.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Scott Falkenhayn, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Scott. Let's move to a motion proposal for proposal 4. The next item is an amendment to the company's certificate of incorporation to remove the limitation on stockholders' ability to call special meetings. Again, this would require more than a 50% vote of the total outstanding shares of the company. Is there a motion to approve this amendment?
Cynthia Pierce, a stockholder. I move that proposal 4 be approved to amend the company's certificate of incorporation as set forth in the proxy statement.
Thank you, Cynthia. Is there a second?
Greg Vermillion, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Greg. Proposal 5. This is officer exculpation. It's to change the company's certificate of incorporation to expand the exculpation provision to limit the liability of certain officers. This, too, requires more than a 50% vote of the shareholders of total outstanding shares. Is there a motion? Is there someone to move this proposal?
Debbie Weber, a stockholder. I move that Proposal 5 be approved to expand the exculpation provision as set forth in the proxy statement.
Thank you, Debbie. Is there a second?
Chris Cox, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Chris. Eddie, Eddie is Inspector of Elections. Are we going to vote on 1 through 5 before we consider item 2, the election of directors?
Yeah, let's proceed with that.
Okay. On items 1 through 5, excluding 2, all of which require more than a 50% affirmative vote of the shareholder of the outstanding shares, realizing that as of now only 18.5% of those shares have voted. Are there any questions, discussions, or stockholder comment about any of these motions? Seeing none, I'll declare the discussion period over. Is there anyone attending the meeting in person who would like to cast a ballot on items 1, 3, 4, and 5? I see none. Therefore, I believe I can call the polls be closed. Eddie, do you want to release the results of items 1, 3, 4, and 5 before we go back to item 2?
Each of those items has failed to attain a majority of the shares outstanding, so therefore they have not passed. So we can proceed with item 2, election of directors, and we'll just be voting on the Class 1 directors.
Got it. And a reminder, it's an interesting point that the voting for many of those proposals was in the affirmative and by a wide margin. But because only 18.5% of the individual shares were actually voted, by definition, you can't get to 50%. Again, it's a good reminder to us all that if you have voting rights, you should use them. So let's go back to item 2, which is the election of directors. We are electing the Class 1 directors for new 3-year terms of office. Is there a motion to support the re-election of the Honorable Philip Lader, the Honorable Gary Locke, and Adam Sussman as directors of the company for another 3-year term?
Jason Cole, I'm a stockholder, and I move that these nominees be elected to serve as directors until 2027 annual meeting of stockholders.
Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Debbie Weber, a stockholder. I second that motion.
Are there any comments, questions, discussion on the potential election of Phil Lader, Gary Locke, and Adam Sussman for new 3-year terms? Seeing none, I now hereby declare the discussion period over. Is there any individual stockholder attending the meeting in person who would like to cast a ballot at this time on this matter? Seeing none, I hereby declare the polls closed. Eddie, would you please report the results as Inspector of Election on the re-election of Ambassadors Lader and Locke and Adam Sussman?
Kevin can report on all of the items at the end of the meeting, so I think we can go ahead and proceed with items 6 through 8, and then we can report on all of them at once.
That's good. Save some time. Thank you, Eddie. All right, ratification of auditors is proposal number 6. This is a proposal to ratify the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2024, as discussed in the proxy statement. I'd like to recognize that there are representatives from Ernst & Young who are joining us today in person at the meeting. With those of you from E&Y who are with us today, please stand. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Technically, it might just be lady and gentlemen. Is there a motion to ratify E&Y?
Scott Falkenhayn is stockholder. I move that the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2024 be ratified.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
John Merriweather, stockholder. I second the motion.
Are there any questions or comments about the yeoman service that E&Y provides to the company? Or lack thereof, if you're of a different mind? Seeing none, I declare the discussion period over. Does any shareholder in the room want to cast a ballot in person on this motion? Seeing none, I hereby declare the polls closed. We will now move to item 7. And we will report, as Eddie suggested a few minutes ago, we'll get the results of the E&Y proposal at the meeting end. Item 7 is a proposal to approve the compensation of the company's named executive officers. The proposal is a non-binding stockholder advisory vote. The company's executive compensation is discussed in the company's proxy statement in detail. A motion to move forward on the say on pay vote is now in order. Is there a motion?
Rick Vermillion, a stockholder. I move that the compensation of the company's named executive officers as disclosed in the proxy statement pursuant to SEC rules be approved.
Is there a second? Is there a second on the say on pay vote?
Alice Rogers, a stockholder. I second the motion. Motion.
Thank you, Alice. Is there discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I end the discussion period. Does any shareholder attending the meeting in person want to cast a ballot on this matter? Seeing none, I hereby declare the polls closed. Let's move to item 8. The next item of business is to approve the 2024 Equity Incentive Plan. The plan details are provided in the proxy statement. The 2024 Equity Incentive Plan has been adopted by the company's Compensation Committee and by the company's Board of Directors, both of whom recommend approval by the stockholders. The motion is in order. Is there a motion?
John Merriweather, a stockholder. I move that the 2024 Equity Incentive Plan be approved.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Jason Cole, a stockholder. I second that motion.
Are there any questions or comments or discussion on the issues surrounding a new equity incentive plan for the company? Seeing none, I'll close the discussion period. Do any shareholders in the room wish to cast a ballot in person on this proposal? Seeing none, I hereby declare the polls closed. On all these matters, I understand that we do have results based on the proxy votes counted heretofore and no new votes being cast at the meeting today in person. Kevin, could you please report on the results of these matters?
Thank you, Adam. Yes, the preliminary report of the inspectors of election indicates that we've already handled 1, 3, 4, and 5. Item 2, Mr. Lader, Mr. Locke, and Mr. Sussman have been elected as directors. Number 6, the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2024 has been ratified. Number 7, the non-binding advisory vote to approve the compensation of the company's named executive officers as disclosed in the proxy statement has failed to obtain the support of a majority of the shares present and eligible to vote. Number 8, the 2024 Equity Incentive Plan has been approved.
Thank you, Kevin. On all the matters that were not approved by the shareholders today, I'd just like to remind everybody one more time how important it is for our shareholders to vote and have your voice be heard. On the say on pay vote, for example, which went down to defeat, only 17% of the company's shareholders actually voted against the say on pay non-binding advisory vote. 83% of the company's shareholders either voted in favor of the plan or did not vote at all. We'd like to know what all of you think. In future elections, we do hope that in all these matters before the shareholders, that more of our shareholders actually cast their ballots and let their voice be heard. At this point, I hereby request that a final report be filed by the inspectors of election along with the minutes of this meeting. I hereby request the appropriate SEC filings on the voting results be submitted. And at this juncture, I would like to recess the meeting and see if there are any other questions on any topic from our shareholders who are attending the meeting in person. I would be happy to answer your questions or comment about your observations. And after the shareholder question period is concluded, we'll move the meeting away from recess and formally adjourn the meeting. Do any of the shareholders, there are half a dozen or so of you here who actually came to Leawood, Kansas and joined us in person for the meeting, do any of you want to make a comment or ask a question? The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Madam. Tomas Medina, stockholder. And my question to you is, with the AMC, HYMC NFTs, are they going to have any type of utility towards the future, or what are we doing with that?
Thank you for your question, and thank you for being here in person. During, I think it was 2022 mostly, there was a great deal of consumer interest in NFTs, and we launched several. We launched some that were movie themed. We launched some that celebrated individuals being AMC shareholders. We introduced one, as you say, about our investment in Highcroft Mining. The NFTs were visual. They had no intrinsic value other than the fact that they were limited in quantity and that they were issued in NFT form. So the answer to your question is no, there is no special functional use planned for the NFTs that were issued heretofore. The company we could do more NFTs going forward, but the consumer interest in them seems to have waned, and we have not done one in quite a while, and we don't have any on the drawing board right now. Is there another question or comment or observation from the floor?
Yes, Adam, here's another question.
Hey, Adam, good afternoon. Justin Lemieux, stockholder. Back in 2023 at the CinemaCon, there was an interview that you did, I believe it was Deadspin, and they asked you about debt, and you said that you weren't concerned about the debt and that you would hope to do a $10 to $16 billion capital raise with the APE shares. Is that still, do you feel that that's still attainable, and did you have a time frame for that looking forward?
Well, what you characterized as what I said back in 2023 is sort of accurate, but not totally accurate. I never said I was unconcerned about our debt, because we do have over $4 billion of debt. And as chief executive of the company, of course, I've got to be mindful of and paying attention to our debt. What I implied at the time was that I was confident that we would either be able to repay some of the debt and or refinance some of the debt to be such that the company can continue to function carrying a prudent level of debt. And I believe that mindset that I had in 2023 then is exactly the same mindset that I had 2 years ago and 4 years ago and 6 years ago, and the mindset that I have today. We certainly have debt. We've paid off almost $1 billion of debt in the last 2 years, which is a wonderful thing. We do still have debt outstanding. What's particularly interesting is we borrowed about $2 billion during the period shortly after COVID hit the company to stay afloat. $2 billion. And yet, today, 4 years after COVID, even though the box office has not yet recovered to pre-box office levels, we actually have less net debt today than the company had at the end of 2019, just before COVID arrived. So I think one of the observations of that is the company has managed its debt extremely well. Now, going forward, we have about $2.5 billion of debt coming due in 26. We've got $100 million, $150 million of debt coming due in 2025. It's very important for the company to continue either pay down that debt or to refinance that debt and extend their maturities. And as we said on our quarterly earnings call just a few weeks ago, paying down debt and extending the maturities of our debt continues to be a very high priority of the company in 2024 and in the years ahead. As for the comment about being able to raise $16 billion of equity, that was based on the share price at the time. Given the number of shares that were available that could be sold to the public and the share price at the time. As every shareholder knows, all too painfully, our share price has come down dramatically since early in 2023. It's lost a tremendous amount of its value. So as we sit here today, I should point out, since April of 2023, we did raise about $1 billion of equity through the sale of shares. But based on the shares that are available for further sale to the public today, and based on the current share price, we could raise only about another approximately $1 billion. Somewhere between, at today's share price, somewhere between $800 million and $1 billion. That's not what our fundraising ability would have been in 2023. That's a direct result of the share price coming down. Still, as I look at what I believe will be a significantly rising box office in 2025 and again in 2026, I think that our ability to stay strong and have cash in the bank, the odds are enormously good at that. There are no plans on the table right now to sell equity to the general public through an at-the-market equity raise, as we have done many times in the past. We retain the rights and flexibility to do so in the future. If it makes sense to do so at the time, only upon the appropriate public notice in filings made with the SEC. Similarly, we can use shares to buy back debt or as inducements to extend the maturities of our current debt in the future years. That is something that the company is looking at presently. There's no news to announce on that subject, and we will continue to keep our stockholder base apprised if, as, and when there are any developments on that score. Other questions?
Follow-up. Oh.
Follow-up.
follow up first and then another question.
Okay, yeah, and last one. Based on where you see the company's financials, whether it's now or in the next year or two, do you have any plans for a dividend, for issuing a dividend?
Companies don't generally talk about its dividend strategy for the long term. Typically, companies talk about dividends only after the board of directors has approved a dividend for the preceding quarter. We have not obviously issued a dividend since COVID hit. And as I look at the priorities for the company's cash, just talking right now, today, not looking years ahead, but just talking about today, static, looking at today, looking today and backwards, not looking forwards. I think the company's priorities for its cash in the bank are to continue to maintain a very high amount of cash in the bank to make sure that our cash reserves are robust. The reason for that is simple. There are many companies, including large ones in our industry, who filed for Chapter 11 as a result either of the COVID hitting the world or the actors-writers strikes hitting the entertainment industry and the movie industry last year. The way one avoids bankruptcy is to have cash in the bank, to have robust cash reserves. And we have robust cash reserves today. We'd like to have robust cash reserves going forward, so that's a priority. Another priority for the cash that we have is to pay down debt. Another priority for the cash reserves that we have is to invest in our business, especially growth initiatives to grow CapEx. So as I said, again, static, looking today and backwards, not necessarily looking forwards. Those are the priorities of the company over a dividend. Another question.
Okay, President. Oh, it's fine. Hi, Adam. My name's Larry Bathowicz. I'm a shareholder. Do you happen to know the percentage of retail to corporation stockholders, what that percentage is? I've been seeing different numbers lately.
Well, the numbers have moved around over the years. The numbers that I've seen, and these are not exact numbers, but these are approximate numbers, it's my understanding that's around 75 to 85% of our shares are held by individual retail investors. The balance are held by institutions. But of the shares that are held by institutions, most of them are so-called index funds, which have a requirement to own shares of all the companies in their index. And they don't typically act like normal institutional investors who buy and sell at their whim and based on how they think the share price is doing, going up or down, what its future prospects are. Those firms are buying and holding shares and rebalancing their portfolios to maintain an exact correlation to the index they represent. So if you were to exclude the index funds, those institutional investors who have to own our shares and really don't have the flexibility to buy and sell at whim, they just have to buy and sell based on rebalancing their portfolios either at month end, quarter end, or year end as is appropriate under their charters. I think you would see that individual retail shareholders still own more than 90% of our shares if you exclude index funds. But those numbers are approximate. Those are not exact, but I do believe they're accurate.
Hello, Silverback. My name is Corey Seaman. I'm a proxy shareholder through Fidelity and also direct registered shareholder.
Corey, nice to meet you. If my handle is Silverback, what's yours?
My handle? I don't have a handle. I'm on Twitter, 401 Doge, but that doesn't matter, right? We're all just people, you know.
Sure. What can you say, Corey?
But I really just stopped by to say thank you, you know, because I'd be remiss if I didn't say I'm also a GameStop holder. And you may be aware that there was a $200 million investment disclosed. And if that lights the fuse to MOAS, that it's been a pleasure riding for 3 years with you. And if it takes another decade, then let's ride together, right? So it is what it is. But just thank you for embracing the shareholders the way you did. I remember when you were with Trades on your calls, the AMC calls, and just you've done the NFTs, you did the APE dividend. I mean, just you have embraced us. So thank you for that. And also, I want to say thank you to the AMC shareholders as well, the other shareholders that are out there, because when I was a young man, well, first, took my son, 3-year-old, to his first movie. We saw Kung Fu Panda. So, you should be proud of what you've got here with the company. We appreciate what you're doing, and we're going to keep going to the show. And I just thought it was super cool that I got to take him to his first movie. So thanks for doing that here.
Sorry. So keep going. I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay. And the last thing was just to thank the shareholders, because when I was a young man, I served in the United States military for 8 years. And one of those years, I served in Iraq shooting down missiles and mortars for, our brothers and sisters. They didn't ask me to kill anybody. I was only protecting people. And that gives you a sense of public service. It gives you, a reason, right? Some camaraderie that you just don't anticipate seeing ever again. And I have seen it in this community. I wasn't looking for it, but I'm telling you, there are other veterans that get out. Unfortunately, suicide is a very, very high rate for veterans, and it is a lot because they lack that camaraderie. They lose that sense of purpose. So I wasn't looking for it, but I see it here. I think that all the other apes, most of them, have a great moral compass, and I appreciate what we're doing, what we've done over the last 3 years. And if it takes another 20, hey, I'll pass it on down to my son. So let's go.
So, Corey, there's someone next to you. I keep on seeing thumbs ups. Is that person with you, or is that person not with you? I don't know, but I see the thumbs up. Look, I think what I should do is simply say, after that comment, Corey, we should adjourn the meeting. But I can't do that because I need and I want to respond to what you said. You were quite eloquent in what you said. And what I'm about to say, I'm about to say from the heart. This company was dealt a rough blow by COVID-19 in March of 2020. We lost $1 billion of EBITDA that year. And the box office, the industry-wide box office, 4 years later from COVID, is still 25-30% down from what it was before COVID struck. And there are a lot of companies in the movie theater industry who failed and had to go into bankruptcy court or actually stop being in business at all. And that did not happen to AMC. Through it all, AMC has been the strongest player in the movie theater industry. It's a weak industry, but we're the strongest player in it. We are the leader of it. And I'd like to tell you that some of that credit goes to our board of directors and the management of the company who made wise decisions and took bold action over the past 4 years to prevent AMC from failing. But it's far more important than what our board did or what I did, what the management team of the company did, or what the employees in our theaters did, is what you all did. Retail investors rallied around AMC. They embraced AMC. Retail investors saved AMC. And as you know, I have enormous respect for our shareholder base. I wanted to not only embrace you, but communicate with you. I went on to Twitter. I tweeted about 1,000 times in the last couple of years, with most of those communications aimed just clearly at our shareholders who who watch and read on social media. And has been the honor of a lifetime. This is the 5th company I've run over the past 30 years, but it's been the honor of a lifetime to work to help save AMC for the benefit of moviegoers, for generations to come, and also for our retail shareholders. And I will tell you that one of the things that has driven us to succeed and not throw in the towel has been the passion and enthusiasm of our shareholder base. So as you thanked us, Corey, and you thank your fellow shareholders, I'd like to thank you and your fellow shareholders because you've given us the energy to sustain this company. I am aware, painfully so, that the share price has come down in the last 2 years. I personally have lost tens of millions of dollars on the share price decline. Having not sold a share of the company since January of 2022, and having no plans to sell any shares anytime soon. I've said publicly that I ride with you. I do believe that's a two-way street. I ride with you because you've ridden with us. And I look forward to a time when the industry is back strong and healthier above pre-COVID levels, when the company is back with EBITDA and earnings levels higher than pre-COVID levels. Clearly, we're not there yet, but we have made great progress since 2020 and 21 and 22 and 23. And I look forward to 2025 and 2026, which I do believe will be better years. So on that note, I think this is an annual meeting of stockholders, and the right way to close the annual meeting of stockholders is to thank our stockholders for your massive support of AMC Entertainment. Are there any other questions or comments in the room? Seeing none. That concludes the business of the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chris Cox, a stockholder. I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Is there a second? Thank you, Chris.
Debbie Weber, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Well, all in favor of the motion to adjourn this annual meeting of shareholders, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Say nay. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you one and all for joining us today.
All right, so that was the call, and I'm just gonna disconnect from the music, and yeah, I can go over. There are a couple of requests. I can go over BLNK real quick and BTT because I don't know that I will be able to before Friday's stream, and I'm also going to disconnect my headphones because I don't need to listen to music. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I've never, I mean, I voted for this one. I voted in the past. I have not tuned in for one of these annual shareholder or stockholder meetings. And yeah, so it was interesting. I feel like especially the second half of it, it was really nice to listen to other shareholders and their questions. And that last one, I think his name is Corey, was just really sweet. Yeah, because I feel like, I think that his comment on being a veteran, having served in the military, and finding community here, I feel like that probably resonates with a lot of people. I am not a veteran, but I also think that, kind of related to that, I think we were able to find a sense of community throughout the pandemic through the stock market, companies like AMC, and this online platform. We're connecting right now, from different parts of the U.S. and I imagine world. And so, I think it's just a really nice way for us to connect and learn together, find that community, and, do something meaningful behind it. So, yeah, I mean, AMC's been beaten down a lot, but I think that there's a lot going on moving forward. So I think we got a lot to look forward to, especially with the stock price above $5 a share. So, but I will, let's see, I will bring the watch list back, and I will add, let's see, BTBT was requested. Oh, I already have it on there. Blink was just mentioned, and Eagle just mentioned Lulu, which I will add here. And so I can go over those charts, but then I will probably end the stream fairly soon just because I have to do the ChargePoint earnings call, and I want to try to get at least one video out today. I have to go back to work this evening. So, Ben, you're from the Caribbean. That's very cool. I haven't been to the Caribbean, but I used to work as an oceanographer, and I've been through the Gulf of Mexico and spent some time in the Gulf. And I lived in Miami, lived in the Keys, or went down to the Keys. But I haven't really, Puerto Rico, I guess. I've been to Puerto Rico. And yeah, so it's a place I'd like to explore more, but I have some fond memories in the Gulf and the Keys and Puerto Rico. So let's see. And I'll go over Blink first just because Ben was just mentioning that. And we can see that, for the day, it has been pretty strong, up almost 9%. And it does look like, I'm still getting better at this, but, we see all of this volume, these volume spikes here as prices going up. And then with this consolidation, volume's dipped back a little bit. So that makes me think it's a bull flag and that it will be continuing higher. But I'm still working on my assessment of, or my approach to understanding, whether it's a bull flag or if there's, some sign of this showing weakness and breaking lower. And let's see. So I got the AMC move there. And actually I should note what time the call ended, because I will put timestamps on it after it ends. So yeah, I think it's around okay. So yeah, so just looking at Blink, right around $3.30, $3.29. And with this, I'm going to switch over to the daily time frame. That's just how I do most of my analysis. And I was mentioning to Ben in the chat that this looks like there's a breakout. So it's like big move up, pullback, consolidation, big move up, pullback. And I had previously mentioned this, that I was a little bit concerned because this pullback overlapped with this prior high. So I've talked about Elliott waves a little bit. And Elliott waves, if this is to be the first wave, and then you get a pullback, that's the second, this the third, and the fourth is this pullback, that is not to overlap with this wave one. So there's a little bit of concern that it may not be going higher, or if it does, maybe it would stop out around 350, or the highs here 352. And Ben was mentioning that, 384. And and do I know Trinidad and Tobago? Is it Tobago? No, I don't. I'm aware. So in part of my studies with my PhD, I studied the Caribbean, and it's actually really interesting. Like there's all of that, the mass of water between all of the Caribbean islands throughout the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. Looking at a map or the globe, it looks like it's just this one body of ocean, that water connected with the ocean. But actually between the islands, there are a number of sills that restrict deeper flow. And so I was very interested in understanding the cycling of water in the deeper parts of those basins. So I got to know some of those islands very well, but really just by looking at maps. Oh, the meeting already happened, Grizzly. So if you want, you can kind of rewind this meeting, this stream, and about 15 minutes into it is when the call starts. The first part I feel like is a lot of, more technical, kind of legally framed questions and votes. But then the second half got into some more, I feel like, personal and just questions to Adam Aaron. And so I think that the second half of the stream is really nice. Trinidad and Tobago. Cool. Cool. Yeah. I've never been. Yeah, it's so that's the I believe that's the yeah. Man, this is like bringing back memories from grad school. There's like Granada's around there. There's a basin there. I remember the basin names. But yeah, anyways, I don't want to get rambling too much on about that, but yeah, that's very cool. It's neat to find out that so many people are connecting with the channel and engage with the stock market from around the world. So it's pretty cool. And let's see. Oh, and then, I'm just noticing this. I feel like because of these lines here, but it does kind of look like, maybe there's an inverse head and shoulders here. Like, let's see, just kind of rough here. But if I draw this line, maybe there's something there that, this head's kind of ugly. But if we do get a move up to here, maybe that could be an inverse head and shoulders. And from the head to the neckline, that could put price, maybe the break would be up here. That could put price around $5. And so, yeah, who knows? But I could see that as being a possibility, especially if this move is continued higher. And you said 384, I believe. So I'm just going to try to take a step back. There's 362 over here. So I feel like, I feel like once getting above like the 360s, getting up to 450 shouldn't be too much of a problem because there's not much there. Like, this volume profile, we see volume really start to taper off around 350. So once price gets up to there, I think that, it's contending with these these tops and stuff over here. That's around 450. So, yeah, but as far as the day goes, we're just looking at this. I'm going to adjust the axis here. I just see these highs here. I wonder where we're going to close today. We got an hour left in the market. But that to me looks like it's a potential breakout, but we want to then test this line before continuing higher. So maybe that would be a pullback to like 320, maybe 315. And if it holds around there, then I think it could really take off. So yeah, I think that the chart's looking really good with this today over 8% up. So I think it's really good. And then since Lulu was just mentioned, and Shop. So yeah, I'll go over Shop first because that was mentioned. This one, yeah, I feel like so with my American Airlines video, there was a gap down, but it had pulled back to technical support. I think that it will not go much lower than where it's currently at. And so a Shopify, is there a level like that? And so maybe if we connect these two lows, maybe that would intersect over here. So I'm just going to do that. And so, yeah, that to me looks like it arrived at support. And so it's 2363 over there. I'm just going to, so, a little movement in these pivots, a little adjustment could potentially, really tweak it a lot. And so this 45.50. So I'll lock that in place. I'm going to remove the volume profile. It just gets a little too cluttered for my liking. Yeah, so tested it and bounced. So really like right around $57. Does look like that was a pretty good bounce. With what's going on right now, with this day being more or less flat, I could see price pulling back to that line, maybe coming down to like $58, $58.50. And then from there, maybe going higher. If I do throw up the volume profile though, yeah, it does seem like, this is starting to overlap with this wick over here, getting some overlap here. So I would think that there is going to be some resistance, like the low from May 9th, that was at a price of 61.61. that corresponds with the high of today, 61.68. So it's quite possible it's getting rejected there. Basically, just people like, I mean, I think it's always good to try and think about these charts psychologically. Like, if I was in the position, how would I respond? And so, there are people who were considering buying before earnings because they thought it was a good value at $77, let's say. But then there's this massive gap down, over 18.5% down, and then, following earnings, and then people say, hey, there's a massive gap there. I think price is going to go up. And then so people maybe FOMO in down here. And then so when they FOMO in, they buy a bunch of shares. FOMO is technically, based on Wall Street's best definition, $10,000. Or wait, no, that would be a YOLO. Sorry, they YOLO in, expecting it to go back up. And then it pulls back. And so the people who YOLO'd in are going from, let's say $10,000, just throwing that out there, down to, coming to lows of that 10,000 is only worth 9,000. And so they're panicking a little bit and they're saying, hey, at this dip, maybe I'm going to get my average down a little bit, but I can't do it too much. At some point I'm going to have to cut my loss. And then it comes back up to, their average or right around their average, and they sell. And so I feel like that's like a really nice way to think about something like this, why there might be selling pressure right around here, because people entered here expecting a bounce and instead they got a 10% drop. And so I think that's why we might be seeing this cross here, getting rejected from that level. And, looking at this, the chart in this time frame, we have that volume average high right around 61.69. The high for the day was 61.68. We might see rejection where price is currently at, but if we see a pullback to, this volume shelf that's sticking out here, ranging from about 58.50 down to, maybe we get some wicks below that uptrend to like 57.50. And so we see that happening. That could be a great entry because then it would be another retest of this uptrend, which has acted as support going all the way back to 2022. And it's quite possible. I'm just going to remove the volume profile. We go back. Actually, no, that is maybe I'd have to adjust this to the weekly time frame. No, but that's, that looks pretty significant. This is on the weekly time frame. We have not traded. We have not closed on the weekly time frame below that uptrend. If I switch back over to the daily, we did get one close just below it. Maybe that's a fake out. And so, I feel that Shopify, I feel that Shopify will probably, but who knows, maybe the economy turns around, people aren't buying as much, businesses are struggling a little bit, let's say. Maybe it doesn't fill this gap right away. But I think with it respecting this uptrend, I feel like that seems likely. But I think another test of this uptrend would serve to then break above this level where there is a good amount of resistance. So I could see that pullback happening, but then that would be like a fourth test of this trend line, and it'd probably not be as strong as it was before. So maybe it would break at that point. So I'd be cautious of that, and I feel like, maybe buying back at like 58 would be good, but then maybe a stop loss if price dips below 56.31, especially if there's a close below 56.31, which was the low hit on May 28th. So, I think this is a pretty interesting chart having bounced from this level. But just like, this drop here following earnings, it doesn't mean there's going to be a bounce. And I think a lot of people, kind of, put on a little too much risk entering right there because of that pullback, about 10% down. So, cool chart. And, so I will go over Lulu and then I'll do BTBT and then I'm probably going to close the stream because I think I need to get a soda before the charge point call, and I also like to put timestamps on this. So let's see, Lululemon. For me, I don't do yoga. I do it occasionally, I guess, but I'm not a yogi. And I've never shopped at Lululemon. My impression is it's very expensive. If I'm struggling, if, consumer credit card debt is, as far as I understand, up massively. If people have a lot of debt and maybe we get into a recession, maybe people start to lose their jobs, they're not going to be looking to buy fancy yoga pants. They're going to be looking to pay off their debt and, putting food on the table at least, not getting expensive yoga pants. So for me, like just from like a fundamental standpoint, I don't really see the appeal in Lululemon. I feel like though, let's see, when was this? This 2022. I feel like pandemic, March 2020, that to me, I wasn't too involved in the market then, but that would have been a better time to really jump into something like Lululemon because people are going to be at home. They want to be comfortable and, doing some yoga and stuff at home. So I would view that as a better like dip buying opportunity. But maybe with that being said, maybe there is a level that would correspond with that low. Maybe we're testing it now. And so let's see. I will probably just have to go from the low here, 47.26, hit on June 2nd of 2017. And then I'm just going to connect that with the low from the COVID crash. That's 47.26. I'm probably just going to have to adjust that. The one over here is the low, 128.85. So I got to remember that, 128.85. And then here, this is 47.26. So I'm just going to adjust that, lock it into place, and doing this blind, have no idea where it's going to line up. Maybe it intersects with the bottom that we saw. Nope, it hasn't. And so that makes me think this is probably going lower. That also a retest, based on where price currently is, the current date, that would correspond with a 100% retracement, pulling back to $252.51, which was the low hit on May 27th. And so I could see a price pulling back to $250. And so from current price, that's is that like a 15% drop in price approximately? Let's see. Yeah, like 18%, I think. And so I could see it coming down 20% more. It did fill this, I guess, was there a gap there? No, that's the weekly time frame. So let's see. Yeah, there's a gap to the upside there that corresponds to this gap over here. I think it's pretty interesting. I think there will be a lot of resistance around 321. So what I could actually see is maybe a bounce to test 321.25, filling that gap, which, it could actually be a little bit higher than that. The low or the close here was 322.98. And then, but just above that, there's this bottom here that was support. It will be acting as resistance moving forward. I could see there being a bounce, but it probably being a dead cat bounce. And switching back over to the weekly time frame, I could see price coming down to this uptrend because, it had acted as prior support over here and following the COVID crash. And so that to me just seems like a magnet. And so, maybe it does go up. Looking back over at the daily time frame, maybe it does go back up, fill this gap. Maybe it does go back up and fill this gap. But I don't necessarily see that much pulling it up that way because I don't know that it's necessarily found a bottom. And I think that pulling down to at least like 285 corresponding with the lows over here, I could see that happening. Maybe actually though, because if I draw support from these lows, we're below it. And actually, this is, I think, a pretty cool thing right here. I'm just going to draw these to the lows. I like to be exact. So that one's 251.51. And then the low over here, just making sure that's still lined up. Yeah, 251.51. And then here, the low is 286.58. So I'm just going to adjust that to... Wait, crap. That's the low 256.58. Okay. 256.88. I think I got that right. And then this is 251.51. I'm just going to make sure. 58, not 88. Dang it. All right. So I'm just going to make this just right to the penny, lock that into place. And do we see, did that act as anything significant over here? Pretty cool. It acted as support here. We didn't get any closes below it at this point. That acted as a nice little bounce, getting a bounce up 10%. Not a bad swing trade. But then here it broke that level. And so what I see is not only do you have this gap here that, maybe people were buying here expecting it to bounce because there was this, high here before this gap potentially acting as support. Maybe people buy here, buy the dip, and then it gaps down. And so that blue line I view as a level of resistance. Just above that, you have the lows here, which were 330.61. That's going to be acting as resistance. You have this uptrend above it, whatever level that would be. And then if I throw up the volume profile, you do start to see corresponding with right around, getting above that uptrend, you have volume start to pick up that is going to be acting as resistance. So I feel like there are a number of levels to the upside that are going to keep this price down. And so I feel like the odds are more in favor of it coming down to test this uptrend, which has acted as historical support on the weekly time frame before getting back up to these levels. So that's my argument. If I were to be forced into a position, whether long or short with Lulu, I would prefer to be forced into a short position. But if I could choose between long, short, or out of it, I would choose to be out of it because maybe it is bouncing here. This is the volume average low. This dashed line here did get some bounces over here. So, maybe it did bounce at support. But if we do look at, how it's trading after that bounce, we didn't really get much of a bounce. We saw more volume when it gapped down than when it moved up 6%. And then after that, it got rejected. It couldn't even make it up to fill that gap. So maybe it's, pulling back to, wind up and then lift off, break through that gap. But I just feel like there's, from a more long-term perspective, there's just too much pulling it to this line, in my opinion. And let's see. We've always, I can draw so many lines on this. This is a really cool chart. Unfortunately, the last Lulu video that I put out, the only Lulu video that I put out, did not get many views, so I'm probably not going to do another video on it. But yeah, I think this is pretty cool. So this is 2620 was the high. Before that, it was the COVID drop. So that was the high at the end of February 2020, 2620 right there, 26,200, however you want to do it. Look, it's super cool. That served as support here during this pullback in 2021, served as, double bottom here, and then started moving up higher. Look, I view that by the end of the year, 2024, in December, price will be around $266. Maybe it doesn't, and maybe before then it dips down to 250. So I am more in the favor of this being bearish. Looking at this on the weekly time frame, big down moves with a lot of volume traded during those down moves. Consolidation here with that going flat. And that, to me, as far as I understand, whether it's a flag going to the upside, bullish or bearish to the downside, if you get a big move and then volume flattens, that means when there's consolidation, that means it's more than likely to continue. Because you saw a bounce here, but volume didn't really go up. It's kind of flat, and so it's going to move down. And then when it does move down more, you get volume increase. Volume starts to taper out, flatten, just like it did here when it's consolidating. I think it's going down to 266 at least. So I made my case, and I'm going to rest it there. Hopefully that was helpful. Cool chart. I think it's so neat when, I could do Fibonacci retracements, but if I just draw these lines off these pivot points off of key levels corresponding to a pandemic or, pivotal highs or lows, you will get these lines mapped out, 266. But yeah, that's it. And now I will just go over BTBT, and then I'm going to close this out. So I have an hour, less than an hour, probably 45 minutes before the charge point stream. And so BTBT, let's see what I could see here. Kind of similar to what I just did with LULU is, I'm just going to draw, it's kind of approximate, intersecting these highs. And yeah, like this is totally approximate. What I want to do, maybe, I don't do this enough. I'm going to do a parallel, oh man, I don't want an emoji. I'm going to do a parallel channel. And so that is over here. Let's see, parallel channel right here. Okay, and so I'm going to go from, I actually don't like the high there. I don't think it serves as well. Nice to get these other kind of peaks in there. Gotten some fake outs, so, take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, oh, and that got moved. Yeah, so that to me looks maybe like that's useful. Got a big break above, not sure what happened with this, December 2023, and pull back to the base of that channel. I mean, I defined it based on that pullback, and then bouncing around there, and now it's broken out. So what I could see, and what we failed to see here as well as here, breakout in a retest of the scene of the crime, that downtrending line. It retested it, but it failed that test and it broke down. Here again, testing that line, breaking down, testing that line, breaking down, attempting to get above it, but not being able to, breaking down. And now, you could maybe put an argument out there that this has broken out and then retested a line here. But, to be conservative, with this pivot point here too, I could see this coming back to 240 to 250, testing that line as support and then taking off, and not taking off like it took off here. That was weak. It pulled back eventually and broke down. You want to see a test of that and break out. And yeah, so that's kind of what I would view. And let's see, this does look like it was kind of like a double bottom here with like a fake out break here. And then let's see, I can do just a Fibonacci retracement from the top down. That's the wrong tool. So that's coming from the high of 527 down to the low of 176. Right there. And so, yeah, maybe it even pulls back to the 236. That's at 258 or 259. Maybe that's support. It does look like it kind of struggled with that level, and that also corresponded with that approximate downtrending channel that I drew. But yeah, I think that this does look like it could be breaking out. And with that, where could I see it going? Maybe the volume profile will help. It looks like price is currently right above this volume shelf. This right here, all this consolidation here. That's why we got the volume point of control right there. And then so maybe price could even be pulling back to that level, top of that shelf, 225. I feel like maybe worst case scenario, if it is to maintain bullish moves following, the worst case scenario. But maybe pull back to that. But there's all of this consolidation here, this volume here that potentially act as support. And price does look like it's above that shelf. So maybe it does get a little fake out break and then a bounce. 355 volume average high right there. That kind of starts to get into the top over here, just above that green line. You're getting into the wick lows here. And so that would probably be acting as resistance. You also do have a good amount of consolidation here. But there is this like little bit of a gap here. So maybe price could be getting up to 350, but I'd more realistically, for me, I'd see a little bit of a pullback, maybe to just like 250 or 260, and then maybe that gets a bounce to move higher. So yeah, but I think that the chart is looking pretty good. I think that, from the top there at 527, I'm just going to take a measurement to the downside. That's over 50% drop. 66, a third of your position is remaining, the value of it. Losing 2/3 of the value, and now it's bouncing. And so, yeah, so I guess one thing, just because I'm fairly new to these, I might do a Fibonacci extension coming from the top, 527. Let's see if I can get it lined up. coming down to the bottom there at 176. It's kind of tough. I might have to, because that line's there. There we go. And then I'm going to take it to, actually, I don't know why I was doing that. And this got screwed up anyways. I guess what I should have done is maybe, this is probably just going to do what I just showed. Just going to do it rough, but it'd be like right around the 236. Yeah, so that's like exactly what I just showed. So anyways, yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And I might sign off now because I got about less than an hour, but I might pull up one thing. I think I actually might have it on my phone. Let's see, it's a map that I had drawn regarding Caribbean. Let's see. It's something I drew a while ago. I think I scanned it into my phone. Going back some years though. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I have this like little, it's like going to be reversed if I show it. But this is kind of like a little, you probably can't see it, but that's just like a little map of the Caribbean that I drew based on like the topography, because that's what I was focused on. That's what I was studying. And so, so I was thinking of the Aruba Gap, which I think connects I thought it was the Grenada Basin, but I might be mistaken. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think, I'm not sure. I just have a series of islands along the side there that I drew. There's this, it's a really cool system, like just from a physical standpoint, but it's largely been ignored. And so that's why I was really interested in it. I don't study the ocean anymore, but yeah, the Caribbean was really cool. It was a really cool puzzle to solve, and I didn't really finish solving it, but I was interested in it. There wasn't much funding for it, so it was kind of a tough thing to be focusing on. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end on this. And Grizzy, if you requested FFS, I'll add it to the request list, but I'm not gonna be able to go over it now. Because, so I don't know if this is what you're requesting. I'll throw it up there. I might go over that on Friday if you join for that. Let's see, did that get added? It didn't get added. Yep. That's FFS? Yeah, okay, it's on there. Cool. So yeah, maybe I'll go over that on Friday, but I'm going to get ready for the ChargePoint stream. And yeah, thank you all so much for hanging out. I'm just going to throw this up here in case you have not liked. Make sure you like the stream, make sure you like the videos, and always share your thoughts, whether that's in the comments or the live chat. Always happy to be engaged with you guys, exchanging ideas. And also, there's been a lot more activity on Twitter, X, and, the Discord. And so I'll actually include a link here to the Discord. If you do want to join, it does change. The link changes like every day or something, so I don't usually post the link. But if you do want to join, you're welcome to. Lots of ideas exchanged there about some penny stocks that have been running, other stocks that people are very interested in: energy, green hydrogen, and ASTS. They put that one on my radar. And so, yeah, if you guys want to exchange some ideas, some of it is, I guess, probably more risky and volatile. So in and out, there's a lot of discussion on options and getting better with calls, puts. And so, it's a really nice community. I'm not terribly active in it because of, balancing work and videos and all of that. But it is really nice to exchange there. So I'd encourage you join if you do want to, get some feedback on some trades, lots of discussion there. But yeah, I am going to get signing off, so I got about 45 minutes before I need to start that ChargePoint earnings call stream. So I'll see some of you there, and for the others, I will be doing the NEO earnings call tomorrow morning. I'll post a link for that this evening, and then I'll do Friday power hour, last hour, the market's open stream. So that should be fun. Ticker Request Live then. But yeah,